Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 tips that'll help you master and assimilate and most benefit from these intense, powerful summer ascension energies here in 2018. There is just a crazy, massive opportunity for an unprecedented degree of expansion and acceleration and upliftment and improvement to your life. And this video is going to just be 5 tips that will help you make the most of this energy. I work with people every day who are going through this process. I coach people, I talk to people, and I just recognize certain themes, certain struggles, certain obstacles, certain hang-ups. And it's my life purpose, it's my joy to help share what I've learned along my journey. And these 5 tips are going to come from, again, my experience, what I'm seeing with people. And I think if maybe not everyone will apply, but some of them might help give you a nice boost and really help you get more out of this experience. If you are new to my YouTube channel, I just want to say welcome. It is, again, as I mentioned, it's my joy to help people with their awakening. I have a free guided meditation you can check out down below if you'd like. It's for people going through an awakening. It'll help you heal and connect and raise your frequency. Check it out down below if you like. Again, it's free. And with that said, I will go ahead now and get into the video. Tip number one is to keep in mind 3 words: speed of implementation. What I mean is I talk to so many people who are highly connected, highly psychic and intuitive and empathic and perceptive, that are getting these golden gems, these golden nuggets of advice, tips, wisdom, guidance, but aren't writing them down and doing them. It's a very almost ecstatic sometimes experience when you're like, you come into a new idea, a new download, a new insight, trickle down from your higher self. And what I find that I used to do is I would get them and get them and get them and look for them and get them and look for them and get them and look for them. And then I wondered, why is my actual life not where I want it? Why am I still struggling financially? Why do I still wake up with a sense of dread and worry and feeling powerless to my life situation and circumstance? I'm so connected, getting all these downloads, because I wasn't applying them. We're given seeds, but it's up to us to gather the seeds, to go and keep them in our pocket, to go outside, pick the best ones, the most relevant ones, and put them in the soil and carefully water them and nurture them and feed them and make sure they have enough sun and not too much wind and sort of protect them. And we got to pull the weeds around them, and sometimes it snows, we got to go save them. And my point is, we get the seeds, but it's up to us to cultivate the crop. And I see a lot of people there where I was, just getting the seeds. And they have all these seeds. Their house is overflowing with seeds, but there's no crops, there's no fruit, there's no trees. So the faster you can implement the ideas you're already getting, you'll watch yourself take it right off. Number 2 is, as best you can, remain in a state of naive optimism. Be an optimist, because your attitude can have a tremendous impact on how you experience your life. And a lot of people, they're blocked, they sort of have a misperception of what that means. It's not always that your attitude is going to miraculously lift you out of situation, but what it can do is it can raise your state of being, raise your vibration, and make you more accessible to creative solutions to problems. I'll give you an example. My kids stormed into the living room yesterday, very upset. Apparently my 4-year-old Luke took a fork and stabbed their pool floaty. And my daughter was upset. My Sebastian, my youngest, was all crazy. My son Luke he like felt bad about it, even though, and he was angry. And it was sort of an intense situation. I was initially frustrated because we just got this thing and they liked it so much. I wondered what the heck would have caused Luke to stab it with a fork. But serenity now. No, I got into my happy place for a moment. I decided that, you know what, I'm going to take this situation and make it awesome. How can I make this situation awesome? What beautiful benefits are inherent in this seeming chaos? So what I did is I explained to Luke, because I could tell he felt bad. I explained to him, you know what, I know why you feel bad, and in a sense, maybe you should, because you chose to do that, and you're smart enough to know not to, but we all make mistakes, and you can make up for it. So I said, how would you like to make up for it? You can make those feelings go away and earn some money doing some chores that'll help repay the balloon or the floaty. He liked that. So I gave him some tasks. He vacuumed this whole living room, which was a complete mess. The kids had popcorn everywhere and yogurt. It was kind of a gross scene, quite honestly. And this little 4-year-old whipped it up. It took him like a half hour to vacuum this one little rug, but it was spotless. He was so proud of himself. And it was just such a beautiful lesson. And yeah, it was a really nice experience. It was a good demonstration for my other kids to see how their dad dealt with this. I wasn't always this like level-headed and mature dealing with my children, but it was a bad situation, and I was already having kind of a rough, overwhelmed day. It's an intense energy. My wife's getting ready to go to Peru, and it was just kind of an unnerving energy. And this is just like one more thing that I didn't have time or energy for, that turned into a beautiful family learning experience and growth experience, and it was just pleasant. We all ended up cleaning up the house together, jamming to music. Luke was in a good mood. He learned something, and it was beautiful. So I've learned to do my best to just, again, it all started with my choice to have a different attitude and outlook on sort of a benign, neutral situation that I could have went either way. I could have gotten mad, said, go to your room, Luke. What have you done? Oh boy, I have to buy a new floaty. One more thing, you know, or I'm finding myself choosing the alternative more and more, and seeing that no matter what happens, there's always something really awesome that can grow out of it if I embody that naive optimism. Number 3, don't be afraid to start over. What can happen a lot during the awakening is you're inspired to do or create something, and you do it. And it all makes sense, and it's all perfect, and it took a lot of time and energy and work maybe. But because you're growing and expanding so fast, sometimes even after all that work, you hit a little growth spurt, a full moon comes on and illuminates the situation. You look back and say, oh my goodness, I hate it. I see what I just did from a totally different vantage point. There were things I was unaware of that influenced my creation. And now I feel like I have to start all over, and it's a bummer. It seems like a big waste of time. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But here's the thing. You are growing fast. This will happen. You will do stuff and then look back like a week later and say, wow, I would have done that completely differently had I known then what I know now. But I've learned just to go back and redo it. I had the same situation. Yesterday, I shot a whole course. I'm making this How to Connect with Your Higher Self Without Meditation course. I shot the whole thing yesterday. And on the car ride home from shooting those videos, I learned something. I was listening to a mentor of mine, like an audio thing. And I was like, oh my goodness. I do that sometimes. I did that a lot. I did this thing. I did this with the course. There was a tone to all of the videos that now I can see, now I'm aware of. And I was like, oh. So what did I do? I woke up, I came back here today, and I did it again. And it's 1,000 times better. I feel very happy and proud of my work here. And it's okay. I've learned that just kind of comes with the territory of fast expansion. So don't be afraid to start over, and don't beat yourself up if you did something that you look back and say, you know what, I could have done better. Then do better. Do it again. Number 4 is I advise as best you can to not fight and resist the negative. Awakening is expansion of your awareness, becoming more aware of the light and the dark. And it's as we come into more of the light, more of the divinity inherent within of all creation, it's glorious, it's expansive, it's healing, it's beautiful. But that happens equally with the darkness. You become aware of the control systems on the planet, aware of the inherent distortions and negativity within the hearts of humankind and within yourself. And you feel the negativity more, just as you feel the light more. And a lot of people, they have and I did too in the beginning anyway, a resistance to it, an attempt, almost I need to avoid it. I need to fight it. Why is this here? Just that kind of like resistance essentially. But all that does is it like makes you a magnet for more negativity. And I found that a lot of people, they end up in these really crazy situations with like the darker entities and the fear and the drama because of that fundamental resistance to what is. Just like I mentioned the whole naive optimism, you can have that with negativity. The negativity, the darkness can shoot you into the light even more if you use it in that way. The darkness has a lot of good lessons to learn and bestow upon you if you allow it to. It's just as valid of a teacher as the light. And when you can say, okay, this thing's happening, or I'm experiencing or witnessing this or feeling this in my life, I don't condone it, but I know in some way it can help me. It can improve my life. And when you can kind of relate and honor and almost appreciate the darkness in that way, you will, for one, experience a lot less of it. But two, when it does happen, you just won't mind. It won't need to escalate to say, listen, I know I'm dark, but I'm actually trying to help you and uplift you. And until you get the message, I'm going to keep coming at you more obnoxiously until you get it through your thick skull that I'm only here to help. If you can just have that mindset from the get-go, you will not be one to struggle with the darkness. Number 5 is to stay dumb like Socrates. Socrates is one of my favorite philosophers, and there's this little story that always stuck with me. I learned in my philosophy class in college, and it was that back in the day, a lot of people at one point came up to Socrates, the other scholars, and said, listen, Socrates, you are the wisest in all the land. You are the smartest, wisest cat around. And he was truly dumbfounded, like, no, how can that honestly be? But they were insistent. So he went around just talking to people with that kind of premise in mind. And he came back a few days later and said, you know what? You're right. I am. And here's why. Because I know I don't know a thing. He was aware and willing to admit his ignorance. The fact that there was such a teeny little speck of information that he knew in the context of all of the infinite. He was aware of his shortcomings, aware of how much he did not know, and that made him wise. That made him an open, receptive sponge for knowledge and wisdom that's abundant everywhere in life. And what I see with a lot of spiritual people, they lapse into an awakening, they get a glimpse of their own divinity, and then an ego and immediately forms around it, and almost a whole other identity of the awakened person can creep in and then sever the further growth, the further expansion. So just remember, you don't know a thing like Socrates, and you will continue to learn and grow and expand extremely fast. Anyways, my friend, those are my 5 tips. I hope they serve you well. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your participation in this collective expansion, and we'll be in touch. Peace.